Welcome to Stumbling Toward Genius. I'm your host, writing and creativity coach, Cynthia Morris. In this episode, you'll hear about how I joyfully immersed myself in a project and later had to face the unwelcome truth about its quality. A long time ago, I got the idea to make creative fortunes. They'd be little notes of encouragement for creative people on small slips of paper, kind of like fortune cookies, but for creative types like us. This idea got a hold of me and I made several series of these. I printed them up and cut them out and stuffed them into little coin envelopes. I made creative fortunes. I made journey juju blessings. There were also journal blessings and ritual blessings. It was fun to take the things that challenge us in the creative process and flip them into blessings and encouraging notes. I produced and sold these little blessings packets, but not for very long. Mostly I just gave them away in my workshop as unexpected treats and bonuses for clients. But when I started making art, I thought, why not turn these into a card deck? I could illustrate them and hand letter the blessings. This sounded fun. I chose the ritual blessings deck first. As a writer's coach, I could sell these and give them to my students and clients as gifts. And by the way, the word ritual is with a W, so it's like writing and ritual put together. This is a word I made up. It was the week between Christmas and New Year's 2014, 2015. I was just back from doing the life-changing Hoffman process in California. I was all ready to live a better life, and I came down with a cold. All the woo and power I had felt from the personal growth retreat just leaked out of me. I was home alone. In case you don't know me, I hate the holidays, and being alone at the holidays is kind of my idea of hell. And then all of this just seemed to emphasize what I hated about being single. So, this at the time of the year where everybody is supposedly having so much fun and being so connected was just a real bummer for me. But luckily, my art is always a good companion. In a fervor, I set myself up in my art studio to make the ritual blessings. I dove into the process. I chose the 36 blessings I wanted to include. I brainstormed the images that I wanted to illustrate the blessings. I inked a sample blessing using many different pens, searching for just the right thickness and style. This took forever. I finally settled on the Lamy pen for the lettering. I filled pages and pages in my sketchbook with ideas, drafts, scribbles, and scratches. This is the part of the creative process that is so much fun, where you're still in the idea phase, sorting it out, making decisions, starting to really shape your idea. My art buddy Kasha helped me figure out the proportions for the cards. This is the kind of thing that I'm completely ignorant of. Thank goodness I had a friend who has that competency. I cut the watercolor paper in just the right size. The whole process was a series of design problems to solve. I didn't know what I was doing, but I was having fun figuring it out. The week between the holidays at the butt end of the year can be one of my favorites. It's quiet online and in the world. No one expects anything of me, and I can be in the creative zone. So once Christmas was over, I was kind of enjoying it. Once all this prep work was as done as it could be, I sat down to make the blessings. I penciled out the shape on the page, I made the illustrations, I carefully inked the lettering. The whole thing took a week of working most of the days. This was back when I was single, so there were no external obligations, and I settled into really enjoying this time of rare and beautiful creative focus. I started to feel better too and get over my cold. I finished all the blessings and lined them up in my deck. In my creative fervor, they looked great. I rode a high of having finished something like this. It felt great to see my vision come into form. Once we swung into the new year, I reached out to two art buddies and asked if they could give me feedback. They agreed, and I sent them a link to the Ritual Blessings folder. Shortly after, I heard back. Their comments were positive and encouraging. But one of the comments made me think that there was more wrong with the blessings than was right. Here was a chance to feel hurt and shut down. Here was a chance to get mad or defensive. Or here was the opportunity to be really committed to all the time I had already sunk into the project. Here was the chance to get feedback that would help the blessings be even better. So I asked. I asked for the spanking. At first, they didn't want to. Perhaps my friends didn't want to hurt my feelings. Maybe it's easier to be nice and say nothing. But finally, they gave me their real thoughts. And altogether, there were about 6 major issues. Ugh. I stepped back, I took a long walk, and I let the feedback settle in. You should know that feedback is a big deal to me. I have written articles and book chapters about how vital feedback is for the creative process. Without it, we're blind to our faults. But getting constructive criticism is a delicate process. You have to ask the right people at the right time in the right way for what you need. And you might not always like what you hear, but feedback is essential if you want to grow as an artist or writer. Between the two of my friends, I realized there were enough issues that the blessings needed to be redone completely. A wave of despair overtook me. My inner critic smacked its lips, savoring this proof that I sucked and my art sucked and that I didn't know what I was doing. I let this tangle of nasty, sharp twigs float in my inner river for a bit. Then I reevaluated the feedback. I looked at the blessings again. I assessed what they said. I looked for what felt right and true about their feedback. And then I chose what I wanted to change. Then, finally, the perspective shift came in. Rather than stay in the thought of how much work was to be done, I accepted it. I accepted the work. I realized, wait, I love doing these illustrations. I have a blast doing the hand lettering. Now I had specific guidance on how I could do it better. So I dove back in. Now I was back at work, so I didn't have the luxury of long days in the studio. But maybe that was better. Maybe short work bursts are better than long ones. I know this is true for writing. It's something I tell my clients all the time. This is the number one mistake almost everybody makes about writing and creating. We think we want these long chunks of time. We think we need a day or a week or even 2 hours to dive into our creative work. And there's some validity to that. There's a certain amount of focus that we want to call on to do our creative work, but those chunks of time are few and far between, and often the reality dictates that we get our creative work done in small bits of time. So I redid the blessings one by one, and they turned out much better. I got help to put a border around each of them, and along the way, my friends kept supporting me in each step of the way to make each blessing better. And overall, the deck came out great, and I love it. Here's what I don't want to tell you. Reflecting back on this experience, of course, it all makes sense. But at the time, it didn't feel great to have to do it all over again. Our lives are geared toward efficiency. We don't want to waste time. There's a sort of moral imperative, despite all the evidence that shows that life, relationships, creating, business, and traffic, it's all terribly inefficient. This ritual blessing process really taught me that being uptight about how long things take is in itself a waste of time. I had to learn to trust that it would all be okay and would ultimately work out better than the first pass. But, I wasn't doing this with a smile. It wasn't fun to accept this at the time. Kneel at the altar of your craft. Work it. Let it work you. When you're faced with another revision or more work than you want to do, remember this. This is your craft. The more time you spend working your words or your art or your business, the deeper you go into the process. You get to hug those words and kiss those colors and embrace the art of connecting your work with the world. What else would you rather be doing? This project made me more willing to do the work, to insist on and accept feedback and face the reality that while I feel done, the project itself may be far from finished. This is not to say become better at being a perfectionist. All too often, our desire to make something better or right gets us into a loop of never ending tweaking. Knowing when to stop is part of mastering your craft. Don't let your inner critic take over your desire for quality. Instead, devote yourself to your craft and let the love of what you do guide you past the stumbles. I'm grateful for the gifts I've been given. I know I'm not a genius, but giving time, energy, and attention to my creative projects makes me feel so alive and fulfilled. I'm grateful for all the people who have helped me, given me feedback, and supported my creative dreams. And in turn, I'm grateful for the people who entrust their dreams to my care. In the Original Impulse Atelier, each and every one of us dives deep into our craft. The ongoing and regular commitment to our projects helps us learn not only about the art form we are engaged in, but about ourselves. We learn about our willingness to grow and change as a result of our making. Spaces in the 2020 Original Impulse Atelier are filling up, but I wanted to make sure you know about this opportunity to devote yourself to a creative project you care about. If a curated, supportive environment for your project sounds great to you, head over to originalimpulse.com to check out all the details. Your assignment: kneel at the altar of your craft. Sometimes we have to do the work over and over and over. It can feel tedious and inefficient. But I've seen that efficiency is not the God to be prayed to in the creative process. No, we kneel at the altar of our craft and we get better with every version, and we grow too. What makes you more committed to your craft than to your ego? When have you had to do more work than you thought you would, and how did you manage to suck that up? If you're working on something now, would it perhaps benefit from another pass? Now, let me remind you, don't let your commitment to excellence become the inner critic, aka the perfectionist. Perfection does not exist, and chasing it is often a way to defer finishing our projects. Become adept at do-overs for the sake of quality and commitment, but let the love of your craft lead the way, not your perfectionist ego. Head over to originalimpulse.com to download this week's assignment. Email me or leave a comment with insights you glean or actions you take as a result of the work. You'll find my contact info at originalimpulse.com. Thank you for listening to Stumbling Toward Genius. I hope this episode has helped you find your way towards your own genius, and that you bravely take on your creative projects, no matter how much you stumble or how scary it is. Until next time, creative genius, have fun.
Coucou, it's Xavier. I'm back. I remember when Cynthia was working on this project and she called me and she was almost crying because she had to do it again. And I said, come on, Cynthia, it's not so bad. You get to have the chance to work on it another time. And you don't know this about me, but I'm an engineer, systems engineer. So for me, I'm always seeing things as problems to solve, and these things that's very exciting. It's a challenge. It's like, okay, something's not working. Let's get in there and figure it out. My brain just loves to get in there and try to understand and try to make it better. But sometimes people, Cynthia in particular, she's really not looking at it from a problem. She may get too emotionally involved and make up that it means, oh, proof that she is not good enough or her work is not good enough, instead of just seeing it's a problem to solve. Lots of solutions are there if you let yourself open up and look for them. So she did, and she finally did it, and I helped her try to see it as something that was exciting and not a disaster. So, alors, I just maybe you look at it that way too. Think about it. It's just a problem to solve. Lots of solutions everywhere. And do not let your emotions pull you down into the gutter. Okay, that's it for now. Au revoir.